Tanzania is bleeding. A nation once praised for peace, unity, and calm now trembles under the weight of fear and uncertainty. The rhythm of daily life has changed. The laughter of children, the chatter in markets, the songs of hope, all replaced by silence, tension, and grief. Across cities and villages, a cloud of pain hovers over the land. Streets that once carried the sound of celebration now echo with the cries of despair. The people of Tanzania are living through nights of fear and days of confusion. Every corner of the nation seems to whisper the same word. Why? After the elections, hope was supposed to bloom. People dreamed of a new chapter, one built on democracy, fairness, and progress. But instead darkness fell. Crowds that gathered peacefully are now scattered. Families who cheered for change are now hiding in their homes, unsure what tomorrow will bring. In Dar es Salaam, Mwanza, Arusha, and Dodoma, the tension is unbearable. People walk cautiously, speaking in low voices, looking over their shoulders. Online, videos and reports circulate, fragments of pain shared from one phone to another. Mothers search for missing sons, fathers for daughters who never came home. The sound of sirens, the wailing of families, the quiet of empty streets, these have become the new rhythm of the country. Hospitals struggle to keep up. Doctors and nurses work through sleepless nights, trying to save the wounded. Volunteers rush to help wherever they can. Journalists and human rights defenders risk everything to speak the truth. And yet, so many stories remain untold. Stories of those who vanish in the chaos, of those whose voices are silenced before the world can hear them. Tanzania's bleeding is not just seen in the streets. It's felt deep in the heart of the people. The wounds are not only physical, but spiritual and emotional. Trust between the people and those in power is breaking apart. The youth who once believed in democracy now question its meaning. The elderly look back on the days when unity was Tanzania's proudest treasure, wondering how it all slipped away. But even in this darkness, there is light that refuses to die. Across the country, ordinary citizens are protecting one another, strangers becoming family in times of fear. Religious leaders call for peace. Voices rise online and in communities, crying out for justice, for truth, for hope. The people still believe that this storm will not last forever. Tanzania is Bleeding is not just a title, it is the voice of the nation. It is the cry of a people who have had enough of pain, enough of silence, enough of being ignored. It is the sound of heartbreak, but also of courage. Because even as the country bleeds, its spirit does not die. The world must not look away. Tanzania needs peace. Tanzania needs justice. Tanzania needs healing now. And through the tears, through the fear, through the heartbreak, the people still hold on. Because they know that no amount of darkness can extinguish the heart of a nation that refuses to give up. Across Tanzania, a cry has been rising, not in shouts of anger, but in whispers of pain and desperation. In towns and villages, in big cities and small settlements, the people have been carrying a heavy silence that speaks louder than words. In Dar es Salaam, families have been gathering in dimly lit rooms, the flicker of candles casting shadows on faces marked by worry. Mothers have been sitting beside their children, holding them close as if their arms could shield them from the uncertainty outside. Fathers have been glued to their radios and phones, listening for news, hoping for calm, fearing the worst. Every knock on the door has been making hearts skip a beat. In Arusha, the youth, full of dreams just weeks ago, have been gathering quietly at night, talking in low tones about what has become of their country. Some have been students, others vendors or boda riders, but all have shared the same fear, that the peace they had known since birth has been slipping away. They have spoken of friends who have gone missing, of parents who have warned them not to go out, of voices silenced too soon. Online, their frustration has found an outlet. Through trembling hands and tearful voices, young Tanzanians have been posting videos and messages to the world. "We just want to live," one has said. "We don't want to fight. We only want our country back." His words, simple but powerful, have traveled far beyond the borders, echoed in the hearts of those who have watched helplessly from afar. In remote villages, the story has been the same. Farmers have stood in their fields, staring at the soil that has fed them for generations, and wondering why their peaceful lives have been shattered by the unrest of politics. Women at the market have been whispering to each other in fear, afraid that any loud word might be misunderstood. Children have been asking questions their parents could not answer. Questions about why people are afraid, why others are crying, and why the world feels different now. And through it all, the people's voices have kept rising. They have prayed in mosques, in churches, in their homes, and even in the streets. Prayers for safety, for unity, for peace. These have not been the voices of politicians or power, but of ordinary citizens. People who have worked hard, raised families, and believed that their votes and voices mattered. The voices of the people have been the heartbeat of Tanzania, trembling but unbroken. Even when fear has filled the air, they have not stopped speaking. Even when silence has been forced upon them, they have still found ways to be heard. Because deep within every Tanzanian heart has lived a truth, that no matter how dark the night becomes, the voice of the people can never truly be silenced. The silence in Tanzania has been heavy, not the peaceful kind that comes with calm, but the kind that follows fear. It has been the silence of people who have seen too much, the silence of a nation holding its breath. After the unrest began, television stations that once reported freely have grown quiet. The evening news has become cautious, the anchors choosing words carefully, their eyes betraying unease. Reports have been short, official statements repeated, and real stories left untold. Some journalists have been missing from screens, their absence unexplained. Others have been warned, watched, or silenced. In the newsrooms, whispers have replaced conversations. Reporters have been glancing over their shoulders, unsure of who might be listening. Editors have been told what not to publish. The stories that could shake the country have been written and hidden away, waiting for a safer day that might never come. On the streets, people have learned to speak in coded language. In buses and markets, they have used soft voices and uncertain glances, afraid to be overheard. The people have not stopped talking, they have only learned to speak carefully because words have become dangerous. But the truth has not died. It has been moving quietly, like wind through tall grass, unseen but unstoppable. From one phone to another, videos have been shared in the dark. In WhatsApp groups and Telegram channels, stories have been spreading, stories that official news has refused to tell. Pictures of the streets, voices of witnesses, cries for help, all shared in secret. Social media has become the heartbeat of the truth. It has been the only space left for the people to speak freely, even as fear has followed them there. Posts have been deleted, accounts have been shut down, but still new ones have been created. The people have been finding new ways to make their pain known. A journalist from Mwanza has written online, "They can silence my voice, but they cannot silence what I have seen. The truth is alive. It only hides for a while." Her post has been shared thousands of times before disappearing. But the words have already done their work. The people have seen them, and they have remembered. In some areas, even the internet has been slowed down, as if the silence could be enforced through weak connections and broken links. But the people have found ways to adapt, through VPNs, through handwritten notes, through word of mouth. Truth has been carried in whispers, in prayers, in courage. This silence has not been a sign of peace. It has been the sound of fear pressing down on every home. It has been the space between one heartbeat and the next, the moment when a nation wonders if anyone still dares to speak. Yet, even in this silence, something powerful has been growing. It has been the quiet determination of a people who have refused to forget. The realization that silence cannot last forever. That every nation reaches a point when truth must break through. Tanzania's silence has been cracked, not by shouts or violence, but by persistence. The people have kept speaking, even in whispers. The journalists have kept writing, even in fear. The truth has kept moving, even in the shadows. And as the world begins to listen, that silence, once so heavy, so powerful, has begun to tremble. Because silence can hide pain, but it can never erase it. In the midst of Tanzania's darkness, when the cries of the wounded have echoed through the night and fear has become a constant companion, hidden heroes have emerged. quiet, selfless souls who have chosen compassion over safety. They have not worn uniforms or carried weapons. They have not spoken loudly. Yet, in the chaos, they have been the heartbeat of hope. In the backstreets of Dar es Salaam, a nurse named Amina has been treating the injured in her tiny home. Her kitchen has become an emergency ward. The table cleared, medical gloves replaced by trembling hands. She has been using salt water to clean wounds, old bedsheets as bandages, and whispered prayers as medicine. Some of the people she treated have never even told her their names. They came in fear, bleeding and silent. But she has not asked, she has only healed. In Arusha, a young teacher, Joseph, has been sheltering students whose parents never returned home after the protests. He has turned his small classroom into a refuge. By day, he has taught lessons on courage and peace. By night, he has comforted children who cried for voices they may never hear again. His blackboard has carried not just words and numbers, but messages of strength. Even the darkest night ends when the sun rises. There have been volunteers who have worked in secret, moving through alleyways and rural roads to deliver food and medicine. They have hidden from soldiers, disguised their supplies, and risked their lives to help strangers. Some have been caught, beaten, or disappeared, but more have continued the mission quietly, because they have believed that humanity must never die, even when freedom is wounded. Doctors have stayed awake for nights, treating the injured without asking who they voted for or what they believed. Journalists have written under fake names, telling stories from the shadows so that the truth could still breathe. Young people have recorded videos and shared them with the world, hoping that someone somewhere would see and care. In the villages, elders have opened their homes to displaced families. They have shared their last bags of maize, their last coins, and their last hopes. "We are one family," one old man from Morogoro has said. His voice tired but steady. "If they break us apart, they win. But if we keep each other alive, we win." And in every town, there have been women, mothers who have buried their fear deep inside so they could protect their children. They have walked miles to find food, stayed awake through nights of gunfire, and whispered lullabies to calm trembling hearts. They have been the unspoken strength of the nation, the quiet warriors holding families together while the country has been tearing apart. These hidden heroes have not been seen on television or praised by leaders. Their names have not been printed on headlines. Yet they have kept Tanzania standing, brick by brick, heart by heart. Even now, as fear still walks the streets and uncertainty lingers, these people have continued their silent work. They have been the reason the nation has not collapsed entirely. They have reminded the world that even in the darkest moments of humanity, light still exists, and it often shines through the smallest, most ordinary acts of kindness. Tanzania has been bleeding, but these hidden heroes have become its bandage. They have proved that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, heals, and endures. The children of Tanzania, once filled with laughter and dreams, have been growing up in the shadow of fear. In the crowded neighborhoods of Mwanza and Dodoma, their mornings have no longer begun with songs on the way to school. Instead, they have woken to the sound of gunfire echoing from distant streets. Some have learned to tell the difference between the crack of a rifle and the burst of a tear gas canister. These are lessons no child has ever deserved to learn. Many schools have been closed after protests reached their gates. Desks have gathered dust, chalkboards have remained untouched, and classrooms that once buzzed with joy have become shelters. In some places, children have slept under desks to escape stray bullets. Their teachers, the ones who have stayed, have done what they could, turning every quiet moment into a lesson of hope, every prayer into an act of resistance. In the refugee camps near the borders, children have been drawing pictures in the dirt, stick figures holding hands, a sun shining over a flag they still recognize as home. Some of them have not seen their parents since the chaos began. They have clung to one another, whispering stories of what they remember. Their homes, their friends, the taste of mangoes, the sound of rain on tin roofs. The smallest things have become their memories of peace. A mother in Kigoma has told the story of her son, only 8 years old, who has refused to sleep without the small Tanzanian flag he once waved proudly during Independence Day celebrations. He still believes his country will heal, she has said softly. He tells me, Mama, one day I will build it again. But the trauma has run deep. Children have been waking up in the middle of the night, screaming from nightmares they cannot explain. Others have grown quiet, too quiet, their innocence buried beneath the weight of what they have seen. Psychologists and teachers have tried to reach them, but the resources have been few, and the wounds have been invisible. In the marketplaces, some children have begun selling small goods, peanuts, sweets, fruit, their tiny voices calling out to strangers who pass by quickly, avoiding eye contact. These children have become the silent witnesses of a country's struggle, growing older before their time. Yet even amid the chaos, the spark of resilience has not died. In one destroyed neighborhood of Dar es Salaam, a group of young boys have gathered after every sunset. With a broken ball patched together from old plastic bags, they have played football on dusty ground, their laughter echoing against the walls like a reminder that joy still exists. For a few moments, the sound of gunfire has been replaced by the shouts of children chasing hope. There have been teachers who have continued to teach under trees, using sticks to draw letters in the soil. Volunteers have brought books, crayons, and toys, helping the children remember what it means to dream. These small acts have been more than gestures, they have been defiance against despair. The children of Tanzania have not chosen this fight, yet they have carried its heaviest burden. Their smiles have become symbols of strength, their eyes quiet mirrors of pain. And though they have been growing in the shadow of violence, they have also been the promise that this country, this bleeding nation, still has a future worth saving. For even in chaos, the children have believed in tomorrow. And sometimes, that belief alone has been enough to keep hope alive. The pain in Tanzania has not been hidden. It has been broadcast in flashes, short clips on social media, fleeting headlines on international news. Yet somehow the world has remained silent. It has been the kind of silence that stings the soul, the kind that makes those suffering wonder if their cries are too small for anyone to hear. In the early days of the violence, international media outlets mentioned Tanzania briefly. A few seconds of footage, a few lines of text. But as the days turned into weeks and the chaos deepened, the attention drifted elsewhere. The screens went dark, the world moved on. And yet, in the streets of Arusha, Mwanza, and Dar es Salaam, people have still been running for their lives. Foreign diplomats have released statements, words polished with diplomacy, empty of urgency. Phrases like, "We are monitoring the situation," and "We urge calm and dialogue," have become the global response to a nation's heartbreak. Behind those phrases have been families still searching for their loved ones, journalists hiding from the police, and citizens still bleeding on their streets. In the refugee camps, whispers have spread. Does the world know? Do they care? Mothers have asked these questions while holding their children close. They have waited for humanitarian aid, for international voices, for justice. But only the sound of rain on makeshift tents has answered them. Activists from other African nations have spoken up, but their calls have often gone unheard, drowned by larger global issues. The suffering of Tanzanians has been treated as a passing story, a tragedy that fades once the headlines cool. But to those living through it, there has been no end, only the slow bleeding of hope. Online, Tanzanian youth in the diaspora have taken it upon themselves to make the world see. They have created pages, shared videos, organized virtual protests, and pleaded for coverage. They have written messages like, "If Tanzania were rich in oil, the world would have acted by now." Their frustration has echoed through digital spaces, through voices tired of being ignored. Meanwhile, neighboring countries have watched quietly, fearful of political repercussions. Some leaders have offered to mediate behind closed doors, but their words have not reached the people. The African Union and global organizations have held meetings, written reports, and issued carefully balanced statements, but the people of Tanzania have needed more than words. They have needed witnesses. For the ordinary Tanzanian, the silence of the world has felt like betrayal. They have believed in the promise of humanity, that when injustice rises, people everywhere should rise too. But when no one has come, when the cries have faded into the void, faith has begun to crack. And yet, there have been a few who have listened. Human rights workers, journalists in exile, and ordinary people from around the world who have refused to look away. They have shared stories, gathered testimonies, and demanded accountability. Though small, these voices have mattered. They have been the sparks that remind the people of Tanzania that they are not forgotten. Still, the larger silence has lingered, heavy, suffocating, and cruel. It has been the kind of silence that protects the powerful and punishes the weak. A silence that history has known too well, the silence that comes before regret. But silence has never lasted forever. The truth, no matter how long it is buried, has always found a way to rise. And as Tanzania's wounds deepen, so too does the possibility that the world will one day be forced to listen, not by choice, but by the sheer power of the voices that refuse to be silenced. Because a bleeding nation cannot stay invisible forever. And when the world finally turns its eyes toward Tanzania, it will see not only the pain, but also the strength of a people who endured when no one stood beside them. The rain has fallen heavily over Tanzania, but lately, it has felt as if the sky itself has been crying with the people. From the mountains of Kilimanjaro to the shores of the Indian Ocean, sorrow has settled across the land. A quiet, unending grief that has touched every family, every village, every home. Everywhere people have been mourning, not only for those who have died, but for what has been lost. Peace, trust, safety, and faith in tomorrow. Streets that once carried laughter and music have become places of mourning. Markets have grown quiet, and even the songs that once filled church halls have sounded broken. Voices trembling with pain, prayers whispered through tears. In Dar es Salaam, a mother named Rahima has sat outside a police station for 7 days straight, waiting for news of her missing son. She has carried a small photograph of him in her hand, the corners worn and creased. Every morning she has asked the same question. Is there any update? And every evening she has walked home without an answer. Her neighbors have begun to call her Mama Tumaini, Mother of Hope, because even as she wept, she refused to stop believing that her boy was still alive. In another town, an old man has stood by the grave of his 2 grandsons, both teenagers, who had gone to a rally and never returned. He has not spoken much, only placing 2 small Tanzanian flags beside their graves. They loved their country, he has whispered, even when their country did not love them back. Funerals have become daily rituals. Coffins have been carried through muddy roads, wrapped in flags, followed by processions of people too numb to cry anymore. The scent of fresh earth and the sound of mourning drums have filled the air. Yet, even in grief, there has been dignity, a quiet refusal to let fear take away humanity. In the hospitals, the wounded have lined up in silence, each carrying a story etched in pain. Doctors and nurses have done their best with what little they have, patching wounds, holding trembling hands, and whispering words of comfort. Some patients have refused to speak at all, afraid that even in pain, their words could cost them their lives. In the countryside, farmers have returned to their fields with heavy hearts. They have planted seeds in soil stained with tears, whispering prayers that peace might return before the next harvest. If the land can heal, one farmer has said, perhaps we can too. The churches and mosques have been full, not with celebration but with sorrow. Priests, pastors, and imams have stood before their congregations with voices that shake, trying to offer faith in a time when faith feels fragile. Candles have been lit in every corner of the country, flickering lights of remembrance for those who have been lost, and for the nation that still bleeds. And yet, beneath all this grief, something sacred has endured: unity. People who have once been divided by tribe, by belief, by politics, have begun to hold hands in mourning. In their shared pain, they have discovered something powerful: the understanding that suffering knows no boundaries, and that love for one's homeland is stronger than fear. The tears of Tanzania have not only been tears of sorrow, they have also been tears of love. Love for neighbors who have risked their lives to help, for strangers who have offered kindness, for children who still smile despite it all. Those tears have washed away hatred and exposed what truly matters: humanity. Now, as the nation continues to bleed, its tears have become a prayer, a call for healing, for truth, and for peace. And maybe, just maybe, those tears will become the river that cleanses the wounds of this broken land, reminding the world that even a nation in pain can still find the strength to rise again. Even as the nation has bled, even as the people have wept, one thing has never been broken: the spirit of Tanzania. Beneath the fear, the silence, and the grief, there has still been a heartbeat, slow but strong, wounded but alive. This spirit has lived in the streets where courage has walked quietly. It has lived in the eyes of mothers who have refused to give up, in the voices of youths who have continued to sing songs of peace, and in the hearts of men and women who have chosen kindness over vengeance. Every night, when darkness has fallen and the streets have gone quiet, small groups of people have gathered to pray. Christians, Muslims, and others, side by side. Their words have not been about politics or revenge, but about healing. They have prayed for their children, for their leaders, for their land. In those moments, under the same sky, they have remembered who they truly are: one people, one family, one nation. In the villages, communities have begun to rebuild. Neighbors have shared what little they have: food, tools, comfort. Broken doors have been repaired, burned shops have been reopened, and in the air, the faint sound of hammers and laughter has returned. Each small act has been a declaration that life must go on, that love must outlive pain. Students have returned to schools that were once abandoned, their voices once again filling classrooms with noise and color. Teachers have wiped away the dust from blackboards, writing new words: peace, hope, future. These children have carried within them the resilience of an entire nation, learning even when books are few, dreaming even when tomorrow feels uncertain. In cities and towns, artists have begun painting murals on walls: faces of the fallen, messages of unity, doves flying above blood-red backgrounds. Their art has spoken what words cannot: that a nation can suffer and still create beauty, that even pain can be transformed into purpose. The spirit of Tanzania has been seen, too, in the small moments: in strangers helping one another cross flooded roads, in women sharing meals with soldiers they once feared, in laughter that has returned after weeks of silence. These moments have been the quiet proof that the soul of the nation still breathes. And though the wounds have remained open, though justice has still been far away, the people have kept believing in a better dawn. Tanzania will heal, an old woman in Iringa has said, standing outside her damaged home. Because the land remembers peace. It has seen blood before, but it always grows again. She has been right. The soil has continued to give harvests. The rivers have continued to flow. The sun has still risen over Mount Kilimanjaro, painting the sky gold each morning, a reminder that no night lasts forever. Yes, Tanzania has been bleeding. Yes, its people have suffered more than they deserve. But they have not been defeated. Their courage has been quiet but unyielding. Their hope has been fragile but constant. And in that unbroken spirit lies the promise of rebirth: that one day the guns will fall silent, the truth will be spoken freely, and the laughter of children will once again echo across the land. When that day comes, the world will remember not only the pain of Tanzania, but the power of its people, a people who, even in their darkest hour, refuse to let their spirit die.